Most of the time, overcharging Cathay magic is used to just deal more damage with their excellent damage dealing spells, but of course, it does increase the intensity of support spells as well. Coop's going to be taking Jade Shield and Might of Heaven and Earth, definitely very underrated spell. Flaming magic damage can be quite good. Only 11 wins of magic too for a very strong single target buff. Yeah, today up against Tzeentch, he's got 2 Longbows with Shuriken Lord up in the air, a couple of Jade Lancers, some Spears scattered around with 5 Jade Warriors with shields up front, Astromancer, a single Iron Hail Gunner, and the Rockets. As for the Tzeentch forces arrayed against him, very interesting and wild Tzeentch build. Got a couple of Furies on the one side, 2 Doom Knights over here, backed up by an Exalted Lore of Change, Lore of Metal up in the air, and then 5 Forsaken and a Soul Grinder. So very odd to not see any blues, and you know, no ranged units at all really, besides the Soul Grinder, which is interesting. Definitely looking for more of a melee rush, but here we're gonna get a big old engagement in the air. Plague of Rust upgraded on those Longmas. They're just gonna get shredded by the Doom Knights. Lack of armor there, but the other Longmas will be able to come in here. Big, messy aerial engagement. Kind of hard to tell what's going on, to be honest, but it's just a bunch of Longmas and Doom Knights fighting. We're gonna see here. First, the Midnight Wind, I believe, Might of Heaven and Earth Overcast actually hits, no, maybe just on the Longmas themselves? Yeah, just on the one Longmas, and then was there, yeah, Curse the Midnight Wind to lower the armor and melee attack of all of these Doom Knights. So really nice synergy there. Those Longmas up to 84 weapon strength, 66 melee attack. So even in a sustained melee fight, they're just beating down 2 Doom Knights 2v1. So both players kind of showcasing their support abilities there. Wanted to point this out as well. We've got a big line engagement here at the Forsaken up against Jade Warriors. Forsaken will generally come in. They'll do a lot of damage on the charge. Don't have a lot of staying power, though. So right now, this is a mistake just using the Soul Grinder as a ranged unit. At this moment, with this timing push with the Summoned Furies getting a nice rear charge, you could come in and tear out multiple units away here. That would allow you to roll up this rush a little bit quicker and get some free damage as those units get terrified away. But as it is right now, the Cathay lines are able to mostly hold. Shuriken Lord hard lands here as the air engagement eventually does turn against her, but still the Longmas were able to trade decently well. All things considered, it was quite a bit more Winds of Magic investment, just the Plague of Rust versus, you know, the other stuff, the Curse of Midnight Wind and Might of Heaven and Earth. But Doom Knights are more expensive than Longmas, so gold value-wise, that was probably pretty close to even, or maybe even favorable for Cathay. Another Searing Doom to shut down those Fire Rain Rockets. Not that they're that much of a threat, but they do manage to make contact with a couple of those Flying Doom Knights, which is just hilarious. A little bit of a bombardment from Tzeentch there. So there's the armor of the Astromancer, does a little bit of damage, nothing too crazy, but you can see what I'm talking about in terms of staying power. The Forsaken come in, they do a ton of damage, but they're just not going to sustain this fight for very long. And the Soul Grinder eventually comes through, does start to attack in melee, but another great Curse, the Midnight Wind, super underrated spell, debuffing the melee attack and the armor there, so it just doesn't output as much damage. And the timing is a little bit lost, right, because the Summoned Furies are no longer here. You don't have all these units like teetering on the edge of low leadership, right, where that Terror route could have come in very, very handy earlier. But let's see, we've got more Summoned Furies coming in. Another Plague of Rust here as Big Bird flaps away. And we're going to see the Furies just come in straight for a charge right onto those Jade Lancers, who just get absolutely shredded as a result with their armor down. And meanwhile, the Exalted Lord of Change is going to go probably unify with the Soul Grinder. It'd be good for these two to fight together and use their armor-piercing damage at this point to try and roll up all of this armored defensive infantry, because the Forsaken did not do their job of winning the infantry fight, right? And now you've got these Longmas coming back over here. Another nice Searing Doom placed to finish off the Jade Lancers, do some leadership damage to the Peasants there. Furies might end up winning on leadership in that fight. Forsaken mopping up some Peasant Long Spears as well. But yeah, just the Soul Grinder just not fighting in melee. Definitely a mistake here. And I get, you know, trying to snipe the Dragon-Blooded Shuriken Lord out of the air, but at the same time, I think, again, just using that armor-piercing damage in melee to fight the Jade Warriors could have got rid of quite a few of them already. Curse the Midnight Wind here. Is that a new effect for Curse the Midnight Wind? I love that, by the way. Debuffing the Exalted Lord of Change there. Soul Grinder comes in to attempt to aid. Another Searing Doom being popped. Again, a little bit of a waste. That artillery doesn't have any ammunition left anyway. Definitely should be using that on these infantry units instead. Or maybe even save it for when the longbows dive. Searing Doom is very good against cavalry. So, could have definitely used it to finish off that longbow there. Tzeentch player could have, but, you know, minor mistakes. Let's see if it comes back to haunt him. Right now, this is pretty good, having these guys fight 2v1 on the Chicken Gun Lord. Not great for Cathay, dropping a bombardment in here as well, but unfortunately, Exalted Lord of Change, his time has come as he falls there, and it's going to be just the Soul Grinder left to continue to fight, and that's kind of why I was saying he should have been used in melee earlier and just more aggressively. It's one of those things when you have hybrid ranged melee units, and especially hybrid ranged melee monsters, it can be tough to know when to use, you know, melee mode, when to use the ranged attack. It's something that just comes with experience, but I think here in this battle, it would have been better to just be using him as a melee monster primarily, or ultimately, you could have just brought a Lord of Change as well for another flying monster, just give you that punch in the air, and still give you some armor-piercing single-entity punch. And you know, while he doesn't have the armor, the ability to fly does mean that the Lord of Change can keep his barrier going pretty substantially, especially if you're cycle charging, if you win air fight like Tzeentch was able to do in this particular battle. But anyway, we'll fast forward as the Cathayan forces do their best. More support magic coming in, a little bit of Curse of Midnight Wind, a little bit of Might of Heaven and Earth on those Jade Lancers. That will finish it. So very fun stuff. Some very underrated spells from Cathay. No damage spells. Like to see that. Not your typical build on either side, but at the same time, that Might of Heaven and Earth is definitely a spell I think that could see some more use, especially if they nerf some of the Cathayan damage spells, like I think they probably should. But anyway, taking a look at the damage values here. I mean, the one longbow got shredded. The other one, though, absolutely paid for itself, so the support value there coming in strong. Chicken Gun Lord also supporting herself with a lot of Jade Shields and whatnot. You might have seen a few of those going off throughout the battle. That's insane value as well. The Jade Warrior is able to hold against the Forsaken Rush. Do just fine there. And then some nice support from the Jade Lancers as well. On the Tzeentch side, you know, Forsaken actually do end up racking up pretty good value, at least in a couple of cases. But the extra terror punch, can't read enough. That Soul Grinder would have definitely helped out there, and will also help the Soul Grinder pay for itself, which it failed to do. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.